Grace, and right now I'm going to be filming my April reading wrap-up. Sorry I haven't been able to film a lot of videos, I just have had a lot going on. We all do at this time of the year. There's finals, and then you got maybe some work. But I have had a pretty good reading month. I used my local library, read some books from there, and then I read an ebook, and then I read a graphic novel. It was a diverse reading month, so I'm really excited. I pretty much enjoyed everything that I read, and let's get into it. I'm just a little bit clumsy. I have I've got so many little cuts on my hands, but the band-aids are really cute. This one's plain, but these two are Mickey Mouse. So the first book that I read this month was a middle grade, and I haven't read a middle grade in a really long time, and I was just so in the mood for this, and that was Fablehaven by Brandon Mull. This follows a brother and a sister, and they are going to their grandfather's for I think it's like 2 weeks because their parents are going on a cruise. They don't really want to go to their grandfather's because they never really had a close relationship with their grandfather. They think he's kind of just like a downer, but little do they know that their grandfather's property was built on this sanctuary for these like mystical creatures, fairies, goblins, witches. And then just things happen and they're caught up in a lot of stuff. And I loved this book. I was so in the mood for it. And the thing that I really loved about it was when these two kids are introduced to this world and their grandfather says like there's more to, this world than just our world. They just totally took it in stride. They didn't question it. They didn't put like logic into it, because in a lot of YA books, when the characters are introduced to another world or that they're more than human, they always deny it and they always like put logic and say that it's not possible. But it was so stress-free in that sense for this book, and I just loved it. I loved Kendra, the sister in this book. I loved how nice she was to Seth, because Seth made the stupidest decisions ever. But I loved this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely going to be continuing on. So the next book that I picked up I got from my local library, and I did not finish it, and that is Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. I have wanted to read anything by Maggie Stiefvater because I absolutely love The Raven Cycle, and oh my god, The Raven King just came out, and it's right there, but I can't read it because I'm just too busy, so I'm waiting till I'm not busy. Anyway, I picked it up because I was like, I've heard iffy things and stuff, but I just really wanted to read it. And for the first 30 pages, I was like, I'm gonna love this book. The main character's name was Grace. I loved the atmosphere of the town and everything. And I enjoyed Grace, and I already forget the other guy's name. But I enjoyed them for like the first 30 pages. But the reason why I didn't finish it is because you're just reading from these two characters' perspective, but you're just reading about them. There are some side characters, but they're not significant really in any way. And that's kind of like the problem that I had with Twilight, because I loved the first book in Twilight, but I never finished that saga. But the problem I had with it is you're just focusing on these two characters. Like, you don't get any significance from the side characters, and it just gets really dull. But I'm really glad that I picked it up and I read from it a little bit, because it's just so crazy to see Maggie Stiefvater's writing in that and her storytelling in that to The Raven Cycle. It's just beyond. I mean, even in Shiver, it's so beautiful and lyrical, but in The Raven Cycle, it is just beyond words. Like, I can't describe how amazing and how much she improved from something that she didn't really even need to improve from, if that makes any sense. I'm just glad that I took the chance to, try it out, and I just didn't finish it, but just really wasn't my thing. But yeah, next book that I also got from my local library, and I read it, and that is Hex Hall, the first book, and I think it's a trilogy, and that's by, I think it's by Rachel Hawkins. And this was about this girl who's a witch, and she's just gotten a lot of trouble in like the human world because she just is always getting herself into predicaments because of her powers. So she is sent to kind of like this school for, is it like troubled witches and troubled like other like fairies and the place where the magical people go because they don't fit in the real world, because that might happen if you're a magical being. I liked this book so much. It was just so fun, and I flew through it. It totally reminded me of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but like for witches. And the thing is, I don't really enjoy witch books. It's been a while since I've like actually enjoyed a book that has witches in it. And also something that surprised me in this book was, I don't know why, I just thought that romance was going to take up a big part of it, but it didn't at all. And it was just really cool to see that happen. And there was like a lot of underlying feminist themes that I really enjoyed. And it was just a really fun read. I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the trilogy just because it did kind of end on a cliffhanger, but I just am pretty satisfied with it, I guess. But if I do continue, it'll probably be during October because I feel like that vibe while I was reading that book. But anyway, I ended up giving this book 3.75 out of 5 stars. The next thing I picked up I also got from my local library, and that was Death Note Volume 1, Boredom by, I'm so gonna butcher this and I'm so sorry for all those fans out there, Tsugumi Oba. I've wanted to pick up this manga series for a while now because it's the most the most popular manga series. Everyone talks about it, and I also want to start watching anime, and I've heard that's very great anime. And I know that Sarah over at Sarah Without an H has a book club called The Lonely Genres Book Club, where you read a book from genres you don't read enough of, and they were reading the Death Note, the first 3 volumes. I didn't read the first 3 volumes, and I'm not a part of that book club just because I got some commitment issues with that kind of thing. But I ended up reading the first volume, and I really enjoyed it. I think the whole premise of like this notebook where you write the name in it, write the name of a person in it, and that person ends up dying. I think that's so cool because, you know, our main character has good intentions for it, but how good can your intentions be when there's death involved? And it's kind of like whole moral compass kind of thing, and it was just really interesting. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as everyone else. I mean, I've only read the first volume, but I know that like people are obsessed with it, but I'm definitely continuing on. It was so fun, very unique, and just a good ride, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. After I read Death Note, I wanted to pick up something that I could get through really easily, and I haven't read a new adult in a really long time. So I decided to pick up a new adult, and I have this thing for motorcycle clubs because I loved Sons of Anarchy. At least the first 3 seasons were so great, and I just wanted to find like a book that was about a motorcycle club, kind of, but that wasn't so ridiculous. But you can't really find a book that's about a motorcycle club that's not ridiculous because, let's be honest, motorcycle clubs are kind of ridiculous because it's like brotherhood is stronger than blood and all that. It's just kind of funny, but it's just, there's something that's intriguing about it. So I decided through reviews, like this book had really good reviews, and that is Underlocked by Marina, I think that is, Zapata. And again, the reviews are really great. And so this follows this girl who has had a lot of jobs. I kind of forget what this book is about. Okay, she's had a lot of jobs, and so she moves to this town because her brother got her a good job as being an accountant for like this tattoo shop. And so this guy owns a tattoo shop, and he's part of a motorcycle club. The motorcycle club is like barely in it, but he owns the motorcycle club. And I loved the first half of this book. It was so great. Actually, I really enjoyed the main character, although I forget what her name is. I really enjoyed her because she did a lot of the things that I would do. I mean, she did some stupid stuff, but there's rarely, like when you read new adult books, you don't really enjoy the main character because, I don't know, they usually just tend to be really annoying. But she was so hilarious. The humor was totally my humor, and I never really relate with characters, but I did relate with her. The guy in it was kind of just like your alpha male kind of character. But the thing that was great is when he tried to like tell her what to do or whatever, she was just like, no, like, no. And he was just like, okay. And I really enjoyed the first half because it was super, like, it was a slow burning romance, and there was a lot of cool plot things that were going on. But then the second half was just sex and just the 2 characters. And again, I don't like to read just about 2 characters, just about them and not the side characters, because it gets dull. So I got really bored. I skimmed through a lot of it, but the first half was super great. Also, this is a really mature new adult book. It's like real mature. It's very steamy, especially the second half. But I really enjoyed it, and it was a fun read, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. The book that I read was The Girl in 6E by A.R. Tor. And this book has me rethinking my entire career because she makes, on a bad month, like 55 grand a month being a sex cam girl. I mean, I'm kidding, I wouldn't do that, but I mean, that's crazy. If you didn't know what this book is about, it follows this woman, and she has murderous tendencies. So whenever she sees somebody, she just wants to kill them. So she's locked herself in her apartment for 3 years, and the way she makes her money is being a sex cam girl. And this is like labeled as an erotic thriller, which it is, but it's really cool. It's cool because our main character has like this detachment. It's not, you know, she does sex camming. She doesn't not enjoy it, but she doesn't enjoy it. And it's not sexy, it's just educational. It's weird how it's very hard to describe. But, you know, while I was reading it, I was just like reading it like it was a textbook or something. Like there's, she tells us all about like her life and her sex cam life and all these weird things that go on. It's just very odd, but super interesting. And then there's this whole mystery aspect to it. I'm not going to say a lot about this book because it's just so cool to just go into. I enjoyed the main character. Yes, she was messed up, but she had logic and she was so smart and she had all these connections through the internet. It was just insane. And I loved the way it ended. I loved the way the story went. I loved how I never knew it was going to happen. And I gave this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I'm going to read the next book because I really felt like this was a great standalone, and I've heard a little bit of iffy things about the second book, but this was so great. And again, 4.5 out of 5 stars. Those were all the books that I read in the month of April. I would say that my favorite book of the month was The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torre because it was fantastic. If you want to tell me your favorite book of the month, I would love to know. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Snacky, snacky, snacky. Oh, I'm begging on you, please cuddle me. Sneaky, come here. Some Demi cuddles.